And we live, baby. JR over there in his old
Raper.
Picasso Reaper. I got one over here laying beside me. First off, Picasso makes some good stuff. We've talked about it before. I am not affiliated with AFCO at all. I'm telling you what, if you don't own a Reaper, you're doing yourself a disservice. But we are going to talk about some cool things today. Talk about baits that we are excited to use for the 2024 season, whether that is fishing baits that we already use now that we can't wait to get out and use again, or new baits that we've either picked up or plan to pick up. I'm going to show you guys some videos and stuff in action on my side. JR's got some stuff there on his desk that he's going to show you this evening as well. But until then, we're going to do a short 39-second intro and we'll be right back.
That's a life of a fisherman you wouldn't understand. Something you can't feel on dry land. Gotta get your arms way up in a cage and set the hook on a smallmouth bass, and then you'll understand. Gotta get your hands on a Shimano reel and a G-Loomis trying to bet you like what you feel. Step on the deck, give it a whirl. Hello, welcome to my world.
Yeah, welcome back to another episode of On Another Line Live. It is February 13th, 2024, and I apologize for the lack of enthusiasm in my voice right now. I've been talking to parents at parent-teacher conferences since 4 o'clock today. With that being said, we are going to get into talking about, again, if you missed the intro, we're going to talk about baits that we're excited to use for the 2024 season. And these are in no particular order, and these are not all of them, obviously. Just a quick update on my boat. First off, if you guys missed the video, JR bought a new Phoenix PHX 21 from Malone's Marine there in Ironton, Ohio. Tyler and the boys down there rigged it up super nice. Chris and everybody, I can't speak enough about that down there. They've taken care of me also down there. But we, as Andrew was just mentioning there a second ago, we had it out on the river the other day and done the first hour of the 2-hour break-in period. And I can't say that I was nothing more than impressed with the ride of the PHX 21. It wasn't super rough on the river. Obviously, there was no traffic or whatever, but we did make it into the 1-hour period. One thing we did kind of run into that was no fault of Malone's, but it's something that you might want to be aware of, is that when you put a brand new Garmin trolling motor on a boat, when you put it in the water the first time, it calibrates itself by going as far as it can go one way and then going as far as it can go the other way. Well, the problem with that is if you have a live scope transducer on there, it will wrap itself up and eventually stop itself from moving.
It was smart to stop, so I'll take that.
Yeah, so it wound itself up and didn't bust the trolling motor or the live scope 34 cable, which obviously thankful for. But, JR's got a new boat. We're going to spend some time trying to learn that thing as well. But I have also put, if you guys seen the video this last week, I've put $14,000 worth of upgrades on my boat, and that begs the question. Everybody has been asking me on social media. Everybody's been asking me on YouTube. Since you're spending all this money on your boat, does that mean you're not getting a new boat? What's up, Matt? How you doing, buddy? And to answer your question is, right now, with the way the economy is, and I kind of touched on this last week a little bit, my pay scale as a teacher is not going up as much as inflation is going up. My electric bill, I live in not a giant house. I mean, I live in like a 2,500 square foot house, big for me. It's way too big for Misty and I, but I was lucky enough again to get this, inherited this from my dad's house. But it's way too big for us. But our electric bill right now is $300+ a month, and that don't see that going anywhere anytime soon. I look at grocery bills and things. I think it's just smart for me to keep what I have. My boat, which is crazy to think about, in 2 years will be 20 years old. I take really good care of it. But since then, I have, in the last year and a half, My first purchase was a Gen 3 Solix 15. Put that on the console. Then found a really good deal on a Gen 3 Solix 15 from the Tactical Bassin guys through Jared Caesar. Bought it, put it on the bow of my boat. And then recently, thanks to you guys, won. We talked about this last week. I would appreciate you guys' votes, but I did win the Yolatech Video of the Year contest with that video I showed you last week. End up making $1,250 of the money back that I spent for the live scope system. I have a Garmin 12 Ultra and an LSV or LVS, however it is, 34, which is a LiveScope Plus system. So right now, and then on top of that, I put a Ultrex Quest on my boat. So all in all, retail cost of all that stuff is over $14,000. So I want to thank you guys out there. I'm able to buy that stuff, one, from having a decent salary as a high school teacher, but I do supplement my income with YouTube money from you guys out there. So I appreciate it and your votes. But to answer your question, everybody's question, they want to know, am I getting a new boat? I am not for the foreseeable future. Rocking the old 2006 Stratus with all those upgrades. And, I can't say that I'm not bummed about it, to be honest with you. It's been a great boat. I like it. It rides well in big water. It's got an E-Tech on it, so it is what it is.
I love that boat. There's nothing wrong with
it. Yeah. So I've been doing a lot of blabbing. I'm going to let JR kick off today's episode about baits we're excited to use for the 2024 season. And again, these are in no particular order. These are just baits that we don't know that you guys know about, and we're going to show you a little bit about them. So what we got first?
So I figured we can I can group these, which I am, first I'll start with, who we're sponsored by, Picasso. I think they've got some real innovative stuff. We've talked about a lot of their shock blades and how they're putting these blades on various lures. They have this new bladed bladed jig, and they're actually using a computer chip. So I'm excited in any bladed jig. I think they do a lot of nice work on them. The head design, and they're putting this computer chip on a lot of their different baits. They've got it on a shaky head type design. They've got it on the chatterbait or bladed jig type design now. And I think anything that is making a different noise, something that's different, that the fish haven't seen as much of, is a really good idea. So there's number one. Number two, this is an Aaron Martin's design bait. So this is a shock blade, but the head's made of tungsten. So really, Picasso is pretty famous for all of their tungsten. They've been doing tungsten for just about as long as everybody. So getting a different click, different sound on the bait as it hits that head, I think it's going to produce more bites. You're going to have a deeper sound on tungsten. I have seen some other brands starting to do this, but I don't think I've seen anybody before Picasso did it. So that's number two on the Picasso train. And then,
by the way, your mom says she prefers platinum.
Of course, platinum and diamonds. Yes. So, and then number three on the Picasso line would be these rhino heads. So it's funny, I was kind of playing with these earlier, and the rhino head is pretty unique because every time you drop it, lands straight on its head, straight up. So I think this is going to be a pretty sweet shaky head. Also, Aaron Martin design. I mean, when you talk about finesse fishing, I mean, it's hard to not mention Aaron Martin's. He's probably the most popular finesse fisherman of all time. So those are the first three. I actually have 10 here. So if you guys want to let us know about any ones that you are excited to see, let me know. Moving on.
So let me interrupt you there. This is weird, man. I was like looking at your stuff and I looked over at myself, and I really, for some reason, have a really like weird infatuation that I am somehow channeling my inner Slim Shady.
You are, man. You are.
Look at it. Look at it. I mean, like
you did the you trimmed the beard, you know. You don't have the disdain in his eyes, but
if you had one shot, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted, would you capture it? Would you just let it slip? Yo, knees weak, arms are sweaty, vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti. All right, anyway. So what's the next?
Okay, so next up is Berkley. So Berkley has come out with a ton of new baits. Everyone's seen the Kolshat at this point. Lots of MLF guys using it. Basically, it's pretty daggone similar to, your Megabass, but the design and the issue with Megabass is that the mag draft almost always lost this when you cast it. They have a new design in this to basically make sure this doesn't fall. We've thrown this one.
The mag draft was magnetic, right? I think.
Yeah, the mag draft, that's the whole mag portion of it. And, that magnet isn't strong. So a lot of times you'll get your bait back and it'll be like this. So that is, their way to fix that. And this thing looks beautiful in the water. Not to be outdone, Berkley produced something called the Nessie. So glide bait, soft glide bait. I don't know that there's another of its kind. It's pretty cool. We were talking about this before about how it's, with glide baits, hinges are always one of the hardest things to figure out. And it kind of has like a plasticky, you can see it in there, hinge or resin that, makes it walk. It also has some stabilizers on the bottom. Hearing a lot of good feedback about these. Honestly, I'm thinking about going fishing down south, and I'm really excited to use big baits like this. So next is the Dime, which that is, basically a new line from Berkley. Has that kind of clicking thing we're used to seeing in a lot of the Fritz side type baits. I love the look of this bait. I mean, look how realistic that is. It is ridiculous how much that looks like a crawl. Picked this up the other day at Borders. So man, outside the box this year throwing bigger baits. Yes, that is part of what I want to force myself to do too as well.
Yeah, we have talked about it a little bit, kind of alluded to it. I haven't showed you guys it yet, but I have my own glide bait series in the works. They're not going to be cheap. They're going to be $75 to $100 a piece, like most custom made glide baits, but they are going to be like one-off type deals. But my goal is much like yours, Matt, is to step outside the box. And again, we talked about this every week, and I keep alluding to it. But man, I tell you what, it's such a good thing that Ronnie Moore said. And again, I was digging through our episode the other day, and it must have been after the show, when it wasn't recording, which sucks. But I will give him credit where credit's due. He said it. I don't know if it was his quote, but I'm going to quote him on it. And it's something that stuck with me since that day, and I think about it often. And he said, and we're talking about throwing big baits, and he's like, "Look, man," he's like, "fish don't have a mirror. They don't know how big they are. If they think they can eat it, they're going to try to eat it." So that's kind of something that stuck with me. But I have a glide bait series that I'm building myself that'll be made out of maple wood. They're going to be not one-offs, but they're pretty much they're handmade. Every one of them, they'll all be weighted differently. So that's why it's not like you're getting it's going to be a true custom bait. which is going to be custom painted by myself. You know, it's going to be a process. It may be months before they're out, but I do have that. But my goal is to create some kind of competition when I get them out. If you buy one of my baits, I'm waiting for the first person to catch the first fish on one. Not counting myself, obviously. I'm going to fish them, but if you catch a fish on them, let's just say that if you pay $75 for your bait, I'll send you another $75 or $100 bait free, just to be the first person to catch a fish on my baits. So that's kind of coming up soon. But anyway,
speaking of big baits, so this is the Hangover. We had the Bait Man on here not too long ago. So there's been some negative press on this. This is the Milliken's Hangover, which, you know, I like 6 Sense stuff. I mean, I think they're pretty daggone innovative as well. So this is a line through swim bait. This is the slow sink version. Has comes with a hook and line through the nose, hook out the back, catch the fish, pins the fish, and this plastic goes up. So, you know, I think it's pretty innovative. And I guess that's going to be the word of the day tonight. But, you know, like you were saying earlier, Matt, I think that's one of the biggest things I'm going to make myself do this year is not only try new baits, but bigger baits on different bodies of water that I haven't tried before. So that's why I went ahead and grabbed the 6 Sense Hangover. The last one that I'm really excited to use, and this is something that really is a niche forward face sonar bait, I think. So this is the Credge, another Berkley bait. So basically this is a jerk bait with an upside down bill on it. So you cast this out and it sinks, and as you jerk, it actually comes up as opposed to down when you jerk. So this will be a great bait for live scope, something that a lot of places don't have yet. I was, you know, happy to be able to get a hold of this Hanky Panky one, which is actually one of my favorite colors that Berkley comes out with. But I have the flag. Yeah. I have the flag that they made the Nessie after. The Hangover, I think it's the Shallow Runner they're having issues with. Yeah.
So just a quick sidebar here. Here is a most recent. Obviously, this is not painted. This is the first kind of prototype off of the line. It is going to be a maple bait that will be a it'll have 2 eye screws and a pin for the hinge. Again, every bait will be painted, as well as they will be weighted differently. They will be 100% like one-off baits. You're not going to get the same because wood is going to be different, densities and things. So if putting an 1/8 ounce weight here and there is not going to work for each one, so they're going to be one-off weighted. Literally, they'll be numbered. These things are going to have like giant hooks on them, but I'm putting some really cool hooks on them that I'm still waiting on them in the mail to get. But they are a Japanese hook. They will have a treble, 2 treble hooks on them that have a barrel swivel like made into the hook. So one of the biggest things with these baits, I mean, these baits are going to be 2 to 3 ounces a piece, probably, if not more. That if you get that much weight swinging around a fish's face, they have opportunity to throw the hook out of their mouth. In this case, they should just be able to spin the lure in their mouth, and the hook should stay pinned. But the reason that these baits are going to be extremely expensive and one-off, I mean, they're expensive, $75 to $100 a piece. But when you think about all the time and stuff, if you go out and try to buy, a Hinkle trout or something, you're going to have $200 or $300 in it. So my goal is to build a bait that I'm happy with, that catches fish, and I want something that you could be happy with purchasing. So this is kind of prototype number one. You can see the eyes that I'm kind of throwing on there, and again, not painted here. They'll be painted up. I'll be doing trout and bass and shiners, and I have a lot of different cool stuff in the works. But this is kind of like, I guess this we can not to cut JR off, but this is kind of one of the baits that I'm interested in throwing this year. The tail material will be made out of paintbrush bristles, so it's going to kind of look like that Nessie tail that JR had there a second ago. So that's kind of like prototype number one, just to give you an idea of what it's going to look like.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then actually going into the bait design, we had Baitman on a few weeks ago, and I mean, it was really cool having him on and talking about things. So I'm excited to watch how this develops.
Yeah, Matt, it's actually a glide bait. My goal is to create a bait that you can. So you hear glide baits all the time. They're either a chop style glide bait or they are a true glide bait. Hold on a minute. So this is obviously glide bait. By the way, the glide baits I'm making are 7 inches in body length. Tail is going to be another 1.5 inches, so they're going to be probably 8-inch glide baits. This is probably an 8-inch bait here. This is actually a bait that was painted by a late friend of mine. I've never thrown it. This is what it's going to similarly look like. So you have a chop style bait, and you can normally tell that by the amount of swing that the tail has in it. If it swings really far left and right, it's going to be a chop style bait where when you move the bait, this thing is going to chop back and forth on itself really hard. It's not going to make these really big sweeping moving glides. So there's 2 trains of thoughts in this method of creating glide baits. Some people like that chop method where they can throw it up around brush, chop it around. And sometimes if you get a really good choppable glide bait, it'll actually turn back around on itself, which is really cool because you can have that thing turn around and like look at the fish sometimes, which is, it's kind of triggers a reaction strike at that point. But my goal is to create a bait using the pin and eye method that I'm talking about. And I'm going to show you how it's done on a video. But my goal is, if I get these things right, you should be able to turn the pins. The pin will go through the back here. There'll be a pin going through the center of it, and there'll be 2 eyes here on the front the pin will hold it together. You should be able to take that pin out, and you should be able to screw those 2 eye hooks in or out, 1 full turn or 1 full turn out, and change that from something that glides really wide to something that chops back on itself. My goal is to have a tunable glide bait that's one-off, that's going to be something that you can fish for years to come. And it's going to be subsurface. So it's not going to be something you're going to be fishing 10 foot deep. If you get hung up, it's your own fault. It's going to be a slow sinker. You're going to have to be like on your cell phone or something. And Lightning, that is a great question because I am right now I ordered 3 or 4 different types of stuff, and I am going to kind of look at that. I haven't ordered True Coat, which is great, so I'll order some of that and see what's up. So that's the deal. So my goal is, Matt, to build a glide bait. It's going to be similar to this. It's not as thick. Going to have a paintbrush bristle for the tail that will be epoxied in. And again, it'll be all airbrush, similar to this right here. Basically, I'll have a bunch of different ones you can choose from. But that's coming up very soon. I'm in the process right now of kind of prototyping this stuff. And I'm obviously a high school teacher by trade, so I get about 25 to 30 minutes a day to work on this stuff. So I knock out what I can, and it's going to take me a while. But my goal is by next week to have a functional version of this bait that I can go out and I can test it. Because again, I don't want to sell something that's a gimmick. This bait has massive hooks on it, and the reason this bait has massive hooks on it is because before my buddy that painted this thing passed away, it had smaller hooks on it, and this thing would float on top of the water. It would literally float. So he put these giant hooks on there to try to see if it will fix it. I haven't thrown it since then, but It's going to be similar to this, but it's going to be wood, and you're going to have a giant rod to throw it. It's not going to be something you're going to throw on like a medium heavy.
You need the 8-footer, man. Embrace the 8-foot.
That's right. So Matt, I actually teach a maker space at my high school, so that's why I'm able to do that. Matter of fact, I have created this. The reason that I'm able to make this happen is the fact that I have a CNC router at my high school. I learned 2 and 3D design to teach my kids guitar building years ago. I still teach guitar building in high school, and I have learned 3D modeling to an extent where I've modeled this thing in 3 dimension. And if it works, I should be able to, like, down to the like 100,000th of an inch, knock these things out like anytime I want to. Throw it on the CNC machine and hit go, and we have another one. Then it comes to weighting the baits. So anyway, JR, back to the top 10 baits. Did you go through yours, or you still got a couple?
There's only 2 more left, man. And you know, one of them, you know, we've talked about a lot on the show, and I bought a bunch of them when Tacklebox went out, and I'm kind of broaching this with the Tacklebox is going to be open back again this weekend. So cash only is kind of what is left. I don't know. When we were last there, I think there was still a significant amount of stuff, especially if you're talking about the Shimano baits, the Strike King baits, and a lot of Zoom soft plastics. They had a ton. But this is the Macbeth. It is a computer chip. You guys know I love computer chip cranks, and flat-sided. So I think this is going to be ideal for spring, cold water, you know, really narrow shimmy. And then last, but I don't think will be least, is the new Strike King Gravel Dog, which I think this is kind of a mimicker of the Spro bait. And, you know, it kind of looks like a lot of other Strike King baits, honestly. But, you know, honestly, it's hard to not trust a Strike King crankbait. I think they're probably the best selling in all baits, but their crankbaits are, you know, always pretty daggone nice. It's kind of nice to have someone like KVD helping design these. But this is similar to the Spro bait that Tyler loves to get caught up. So hopefully this one doesn't catch.
Dude, I'm telling you what, I've said it 100 times. Like, I have a hard time saying this because I would love to be sponsored by Spro eventually. But their rock crawler, man, I swear to goodness, if you cast that thing within 7 foot of a rock, you're getting it hung up. Like I don't know what it is about it. Every other Spro bait on the planet, I absolutely love. We've talked about my absolute infatuation. I'll even call it an infatuation because it's not a like anymore. The Spro Little John Type R, like, it is the berries. I love Spro crankbaits, but their rock crawler, man, considering it's designed to do just that, beat up rocks and stuff, it gets hung up.
But this one is a better version. You know, I mean, it's called Gravel Dog, rock crawler, Gravel Dog. So, you know, it's obviously kind of pandering at that. And I mean, you get the great colors. This is Sexy Shad 2.0. So they've got some really cool new colors. There's this new bone crawl color that I really am interested in getting. But I picked this up at Borders the other day, so I would encourage you to go down there. Borders is also having their kind of homecoming, and that's going to be Friday and Saturday. So I'm probably going to make my way to both Borders and Tacklebox. So see you fellers there, which Tyler will not be there.
Yeah, I apologize, but what he's talking about, if you missed it, the Tacklebox is having a cash only weekend, Friday and Saturday this weekend coming up. Kind of like they always did their open house this weekend, and this is the first year I haven't had to work the Shimano open house, so I decided to plan a trip to go down to my buddy's place in North Carolina to fish Sharon Harris and Lake Jordan. and maybe a couple others down there while we're there. Misty and I are going to go down. And then I talked to Brad at Borders, and they're going to have an open house, which is the first time they've ever done this 2-day event. They usually do it on a Friday for a few hours, and then that's it. But where the tackle box is shut down, they feel like that they can do it without stepping on Greg's toes. So they are going to create a 2-day open house type deal. I don't know what kind of deals they're going to have. Couldn't tell you. I'd imagine they're going to have some deals here and there. They usually raffle off a Shimano rod, usually a Loomis, depends on whatever it is. They raffle it off there. So for $2 or $3 bucks, get in on that.
They told me they're going to have a lot of basically a flyer that has XYZ baits or this much off. I know a lot of stuff will be at least 10% off, which 10% is better than nothing, but a lot of things are going to be better than that too.
Yep. Lightning. So the tackle box is 411 Solid Road, South Point, Ohio. Don't ask me how I know that.
Yeah.
So it was, I was at the tackle box so much that when I got in my car, my iPhone would tell me immediately how far I was away from the tackle box. You're 9 minutes from the tackle box. Thanks for reminding me, Siri. And then the Borders is in Summit, Kentucky. If I don't know the exact location or the exact address to that place, but it's over in Meade Station, I think is what it's called. Basically right across from the Kentucky State Police barracks over there on Route 60. Again, tackle box is a cash only deal. I couldn't tell you.
56 US 60 Ashland, Kentucky.
There you go. So those are I don't know. So I encourage you guys to go out there. I would love to be able to see you guys. Wow. All right. So Detroit River, what baits would you throw? Just so happens I fished there a bunch. Detroit River. One thing that I will tell you about the Detroit River, in my absolute honest opinion, is that it is absolutely chock full of giant fish. People don't fish it that often because I will tell you why. If you get into some areas if you get into the main river channel, I'm telling you what, it has some of the most crazy current that you will ever be in your life. It absolutely rips through there. Like when you're on Lake St. Clair, obviously, it comes out of Lake Huron, comes through the St. Clair River, goes into Lake St. Clair, goes to the Detroit River into Lake Erie. Now, when you're in St. Clair or you're in Lake Erie, you kind of drift, but you drift with the wind, and you don't realize that there's that much current flowing through there until you get into one of those river channels. What I'm talking about is you get into the Detroit River, it freaking smokes. And it is ripping. Like I'm talking, like if you don't have spot lock, you are doing yourself a giant disservice. You're going to be fishing so fast that you're not going to be able to come up on some areas. However, that being said, there are some spots within the areas that you can get in, and without spot lock, you can still catch fish. You're going to want to throw bigger baits than you normally think about as far as weight wise because of that current. For example, one of my favorite baits to throw on the Detroit River is a Carolina rig, just for the fact that I can put a big weight on that thing and the fish doesn't feel that weight. For example, I might be throwing an ounce and a half. I was fishing a tournament with a guy who smoked me out of the front of the boat. We were in the Detroit River. He was throwing a 2-ounce weight on a Carolina rig. And I was like, dude, I couldn't put every bait every piece of tungsten I have in my boat or in my tackle bag here as a co-angler to make 2 ounces. But like that's one of the major keys you have to think about is like, am I fishing the main river channel? And if you are, you're going to have to fish bigger weights than you normally think about. If you're throwing a 1/4 ounce Ned rig, you can get by with that in Lake St. Clair or Lake Erie. But if you're in that river, it's not happening. You're not touching the bottom. And what I mean, like you're not getting to the bottom. Like you can cast it out there and let every square inch of line you have on your rod off. It's still not touching the bottom. It will be pulled away with that current, and it is going to be absolutely the most miserable day you've ever fished in your life. So my advice is step up on those weights, but throw baits that you would normally throw for bass. Again, Carolina rigs, I throw big Ned rigs, like the new, they have that Magnum Ned rig from Do It that you can pour that goes up into that 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce, 1 ounce deal. I've even been known to take a 3/4 ounce football head jig, get rid of the skirt, and put a Ned rig on there and catch fish. It's all about getting where the fish are at. But one thing that I can tell you is all baits that you normally throw for bass any other time, I would throw there, but you're definitely going to have to step up the weights, bigger jigs, bigger Ned rigs. And I'm not talking about length of baits. I'm talking about weights of baits. I've caught a lot of fish, and look for, especially on the Detroit River, there's a lot of like sandbars and there's a lot of areas where it's shallow and things. You're going to see a lot of fish congregate on those areas. I've seen some, Detroit River is a crazy place, man. I've literally been there pre-fishing for Kyle and heard a gunfight. It is Detroit, so take that for what it's worth. So go there, throw bigger baits, and I don't know, stay strapped, I guess.
Andy Morgan had a really good event a couple years back, and he actually went to the Detroit River and found some matted grass and was throwing frogs and heavy Texas rigs, and I think he ended up placing top 10. So I mean, looking for greenfish.
All right, so and that's one thing I will tell you is that there's big greenfish and there's also big smallmouth, but on the river, on that Detroit River, I would definitely look at a Carolina rig because you can throw a big weight on that and still be okay with throwing baits. Like I was throwing a Carolina rig Zoom speed crawl and ended up catching, I think I had 22 pound one day pre-fishing. Matter of fact, if you see on our intro, the fish that about jumps in the boat, caught on the Detroit River. There's one spot, and I'm not going to give it away. Kyle found it on the Detroit River that he and his co-angler, they went there one day and in 10 fish caught 50 pound of fish. They had 25 pounds apiece. That is a freaking hammer hole.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Yeah. So I'm with Corey there. Corey was from up around that area initially. So now that JR has talked about his baits, I'm not going to get so in depth with it. I'm only going to give you guys 4 baits that I'm interested in trying this year and stuff. That's one of these. Let's see, 2 of these are baits that I've already tried out. But as we talked about earlier in the show, I bought a new forward-facing sonar unit. I bought a Garmin LiveScope LVS LSV, whatever it is, 34, which is the LiveScope Plus, and a 12 Ultra. Just mounted those things on my boat. Really impressed with that stuff already. And Strick, if you're out there watching, I did turn my grid pattern off for you, just for you. But some of the baits we're going to talk about today for me are forward-facing sonar specific, just for the simple fact is that I'm learning FFS, and I want to be able to maximize my cast ability. And one of the things we're going to look at here initially is going to be, the first one is going to be the Berkley Finisher. And I am not going to do a very good job of explaining this to you. So I'm just going to show you guys a video directly from YouTube that's from Berkley's website, or the Berkley's YouTube channel. So let's take a look at this here.
The Finisher is one of the most unique baits I've ever seen.
This bait is designed to fish on forward-facing sonar, and you work it with quick, snappy strokes with a rod tip on the semi-slack line to give it a nice side-to-side action.
The lateral movement is insane.
It may go right twice, then left, then up, then down. I mean, it's all over the place.
Not only can you cast it out in front of the boat and fish it back towards you, you can also fish it vertically. So it allows you to change on the fly.
The thing that I really like about this bait is some of these fish are suspended. We might be in 30 to 35 feet of water. These fish might be 10 feet off the bottom. And this thing sinks a little bit slower than your typical real heavy glide baits. But what it allows you to do is keep the bait above those suspended fish.
You see a fish on your sonar, and it might be out there 80, 90, 100 feet. This thing casts like a little bullet.
It also gets down to the fish very fast because it tends to tilt nose down and it sinks.
I can keep it down there in the strike zone and work it side to side, super aggressive. Man, it generates a bunch of bites.
It really is amazing at getting fish to react that you would not catch otherwise.
Yeah, so this is definitely on my list too, Tyler. So
Yeah.
I've got a couple of those suckers, and I think the small versions were going to be where the money's at, personally.
Right. So I've never thought about it until I watched that video about using that for walleye as well. So, so my biggest smallmouth ever to date was caught this past April. It was 5 pounds, 15 ounces. One drop of water away from 6 pounds. I'm a little butthurt about that, but I'll get it eventually. So on the forward-facing sonar kind of esque area is going to be something that Jay already talked about, the Berkley Krej. And if you haven't already picked that up, KREJ is jerk backwards. But he showed you the bait earlier. I'm going to show you Berkley's actual video of it here, because the action of this bait is unlike anything you've probably ever seen. The fact of the matter is that when you jerk the bait like a jerk bait, it falls away from you towards the fish, which if you've ever used forward-facing sonar, which again, take this for what it's worth because I am very limited in knowledge, the biggest thing is that when you get a bait in the strike zone of a fish, you have to present it right at the same spot for the fish to eat it every time, to have you have to cast and you have to make this bait come through the fish perfectly every time. Well, with this Krej or Krej, however you want to say it, when you jerk it, if you stop moving it, it'll actually work its way back towards the fish, which is amazing because you can work it through fish, let it drift back, work it through fish, let it drift back. So you can create this strike zone for multiple opportunities with a fish. So let's take a look at this video really quick. And again, this is from YouTube. You can go check it out. And again, another thing is I would like for this to mention is that we have no affiliation with Berkley at all, but just have some pretty cool baits.
It's designed for forward-facing sonar.
It looks like nothing else that I've ever seen.
It's got a real similar body to the Stunna, but as you can see, the bill is flipped backwards.
Which brings you to the name. Krej is jerk spelled backwards. You can get this bait in front of that fish extremely quick, and you can keep it there until they bite.
It's weighted really uniquely, so it falls away from you into the fish.
You'll pull it towards you, you let it slide back. You pull it towards you and you let it slide back, and you can let the fish see it multiple times.
Instead of it diving down like a jerk bait, it rises up, it goes left and right.
There's a bunch of different ways to work it. I will reel it, twitch it. You can let it do that shimmy fall right back to them, man. They can't handle it.
It really is going to change the way that we fish on forward-facing sonar. Krej fish right there.
Pretty amazing there. If I can get that video to stop.
Yeah, Lightning's got some foreshadowing here for you.
That's right. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and jump into this bait as Lightning's talked about, the Jackall Riser. So the Jackall Riser bait is a bait that I am hesitant to talk about. The reason that is because it's a bait that there's not a lot of people that know about. The Jackall Riser 007. It is a bait designed for fish that are targeting smaller bait fish that are schooling. There's kind of a time and a place for it. My biggest advice is to throw it when you have schooling fish, but you don't have to. It's basically, I know you guys have all seen it. You guys have been out there and you've seen fish chasing bait, and then you'll see one that's kind of like off on its own, and it'll be busting the top of the water trying to get away from fish. Well, that's exactly what the Berkley Riser bait's also looking at here. So I think potentially, yes, you could probably do that this way because it does sink in a similar manner. So I haven't tried this yet. Matter of fact, there are some people saying that Berkeley has actually stolen the Credge idea from the riser bait. But I will show you here the riser bait. I don't have a video of it, but I will show you what it looks like. This is directly from Tackle Express. This is the first one I've chosen. Some of these, this RT Minnow. I mean, look at that. One thing that Jackal has as far as their collar combinations is they have amazing collar combination. Bone white, bluegill. So I think I have the RT Minnow and I have the Mirror Wagasaki. But it has a bill on it. And really what this thing is going to do is that you can find it out on YouTube. There's a video out there. I think it's Bass HQ, Bass Fishing HQ, or whatever the guy's name is out there. He has a really nice video on it. I watched it when I first bought this bait. And what it is like it's a topwater bait that kind of goes erratic. And as Lightning said, can you do it with the same thing that the Credge is doing? Potentially, but I've never thrown it that way. I'm going to try it and see what happens because I feel like it's going to sink faster. It's a lot heavier than a Credge. Not designed to be that subsurface bait like the Credge. It's going to be, again, designed to be a topwater bait, but I'm thinking you could probably work it that way as well.
Justin Lucas actually was talking about how you can work the Credge subsurface. So definitely seeing some similarities here. I think is the riser, is that a metal bill on that, or is it plastic?
Yeah, they do have a metal bill.
That one's metal, and then the Berkeley one's plastic, but very, very similar things. And then I actually saw, we adjusted on here a couple months back, but he's talked multiple times about how you can fish it fast and it be a topwater bait, which I guess that's saying, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you can only make so many baits, right? And I'm not knocking the companies for doing what they can do, but my next video or my next bait I'm going to show you a video of is just going to be a promo video of it. I've talked about it on the show the last couple of weeks. It's going to be the Shimano Ember 60 SP. It is a suspending crankbait similar to a Shad Rap that will allow you to work it like a crankbait and then stop it. It'll stay submerged at whatever it's like 5 to 7 feet, and then you can like jerk it and twitch it, and then you can take it off like a crankbait again, which is really daggone cool. But the reason I want to show you this video is that they show you a lot of the collars that's on this. There's a lot of different things. Shimano, and I hate the fact that they do this, guys, and I think it's kind of like they play us to be kind of like these, I don't know, dumb Americans or whatever. They make like these technology names really crazy, like Flash Boost Technology. Well, Flash Boost Technology is really cool, but you'll see it on the video. It's a piece of foil that's on 2 springs that causes a movement and flash when the bait is stopped, which is great. They have something called Scale Boost, which is just scales on the fish. Really, and like the way it turns creates scale patterns. Really cool. They have Jet Boost Technology, which is a tungsten weight distribution. Everything is boost. Everything's boost. So it's like you get all these crazy things. But I will say, again, I'm just going to show you this promo video straight from their from YouTube on their channel. But I want you to pay very close attention to the collars at the end of the video because, man, they have some sweet ones.
Yeah, that really gets me right there.
Pretty cool bait. I can't wait to throw it. Again, it's going to be suspending crankbait. You can work it like a jerk bait. You can work it like a crankbait. You can work it in a mixture of both, which I'm really excited about. And my last bait is something that I've been using for a good solid year now, and that is going to be the Picasso Sujin. And there's no better person to show you about the Picasso Sujin than Aaron Martins himself. I'm going to show you guys a video here in just a second, but I'm going to show you here really quickly what a Sujin is. The reason I'm not going to show you this whole video because it is kind of long, but I'm going to show you kind of a little bit about it. But here is the Picasso Sujin. Has a, like a resin type plastic material for a bill here. This thing causes erratic reaction or erratic action on a like a swim bait. But one thing I will tell you, if you throw something that has like a paddle tail or like a boot tail, it's not going to have the action that you want. This is going to be something that has like a spike tail or something that has maybe two tails on it, maybe similar to like a Zoom Fluke or something that you could put on here. But I want to show you a little bit about a little of this video down here of Aaron Martins. But the reason I want to show you this is that, one, he talks about the bills, but I want you to check out the action of this bait under the water.
Hi everyone, this is Aaron Martins here, and it's about time we got a new Sujin. Been working on it for a long time. You've seen this bait before. Some of you haven't. Some of you have never tried it. I got about 37 years, I think more than that now, 39 years, about 37, 38 years of experience with this bait. I started off in California as a kid fishing saltwater with it. I also had a company that made these 17 years ago. I made them. This is a really similar design off my original design. But one of the cool things, I'll start with a pack. We have two, some of these have two, some will have three. There's gonna be a lot of, I wouldn't say confusion, but there's a lot to this bait. If you've never thrown it, you may be a little confused by it at first, but it's kind of like drop shotting or throwing a spinner bait. It's like any bait out there. It takes a while to learn it. The thing I'm going to do with this bait is, because I have so much experience with it, and I've had custom ones for almost 20 years, is we're going to have, say a half ounce. Now, a lot of the companies out there, and even back when I made them, I only had 2 or 3 hook sizes, but we're going to have multiple hook sizes eventually. Right now we already do, but we're going to have even more, because sometimes you want to throw a half ounce with a tiny bait on it in deeper water. Well, a big hook's not going to work as good. It won't move as well. So we're going to have a lot of different hook sizes. I'm not going to get into that much. It'll take me forever. That'll be a different video. But the really cool thing what me and Picasso did is we put spare bills in here. And of course, I feel for the people that had the old ones that maybe they left in the sun or the back of their car and they split, or in a hot compartment. And they can split if they get real hot. This material is about as good as you can get. This is what's taking so long to come out with this bait. It's getting the material right. But, things can happen to it, whatever. But we got spare bills in there, so go ahead and use your old ones. I don't care. But once you use these ones, you're going to probably end up getting more of the Picasso Sujins. These are actually different bills, too. They're not the same. You got, I think right now we're putting 2 different thicknesses. So you may have a 35 thousandths and a 40 thousandths thick bill, or 30 thousandths on some of the lighter sides. It's going to vary with the different size heads, but this allows you to adjust to temperature. Water temperature does affect this bill a lot. So say you're fishing in the summertime, you fish that same bill you're fishing in the summer when the water's warm, and you go throw that same bait in the wintertime, the water's cold, it's not going to move properly at all. Matter of fact, it's going to probably blow it out and it's not going to work, and be like, what happened to this bait? I'm going to be showing you how to.
So again, don't want to bore you to death with that whole video. It's out on Picasso's website. It's PicassoOutdoors.com if you want to take a look at that. But the reason I'm really interested in throwing that bait is I've been throwing it for quite a while now, but I feel like this is going to be another sleeper forward-facing sonar bait. You can throw it through bait, and then you can kind of like move it, and it'll move those baits with that. So the Sujin, I'm telling you what, it's a great bait. They make multiple different sizes. As he alluded to on that video, it's something I'd never thought of, but it's something that they have talked about in those or in their promotional materials, is that some baits or some water temperatures are going to cause those baits to react differently because of how I guess it'll be less, I'm going to use the word supple. The the bill will be less supple in colder water, whereas warmer water, it's going to be softer and it's going to move a little different. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I know Dustin Connell's a big fan of those Sujins, and I'd say he's won a lot of money on those. It's not something I've really gotten into, but probably something I need to explore.
Yep. So, Lightning, I saw that question. Hopefully that kind of answers that in a roundabout way. My advice is to go watch that video. He talks about it way more in depth. But again, the thicker the bill, it's going to cause more or less action, because if it is thick, it's going to be a thicker material, which is going to be more rigid, and it's going to cause more friction on the water where that bill is not going to bend back as much. You're going to cause a lot more action. Again,
frequency of the vibration.
Right. So my advice to you is to, one, make sure you're not throwing those things with a boot tail. Trailer, make something like you saw on there with, it's like a spike tail or something like a Berkeley fluke, or I'm sorry, a Zoom fluke. I have some like Zoom baits. I don't know what they're even called. I bought them for Del Hollow, but I've been using them on there. I have the really small ones. I have the 1/8 ounce head, and these things go all the way up to, like, I'll check here, but I think they go all the way up to like 2 inch or 2 ounce, ounce and a quarter.
Holy
with a 7/0 hook.
Jeez Louise.
So they go from 1/8 ounce down to, again, 1 1/4 ounce with a 7/0.
Ready for the Detroit River.
Okay. Yeah, I agree, Lightning. Amart is such an innovator. He's missed by a ton of people. I'm lucky that I don't know that I'm lucky. I wasn't close to him. I never met him in person. I used to watch him all the time online. Was really cool. He was a guy that I looked up to because he was always himself. I thought he fished, and just like on that video, it's like, yeah, fish your old ones. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Whatever. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this evening. Just a quick shout out again that this weekend I potentially will not be around, but I encourage you to go out and check out the Tackle Box this weekend. Cash only sale Friday and Saturday. Everything that's left in stock, 50% off most items. There was a ton of Zoom, a ton of there was the Strike King wall was still plumb full. A lot of the let's see what else. There was a bunch of Spro baits left. There was some Shimano stuff left. The rods were really thin, picked through, but there was a few. Reels are pretty much gone unless you want something catfishing.
Well, left-handed reel, they've probably got you hooked up there.
I don't know if they do. I think they sold all the Shimano reels they had. So the frit sides, they had a couple hundred frit sides. I bet there's still probably 2,000 Strike King crankbaits in that place.
Yeah.
Aaron Strickland, what's up, buddy? Glad you're here because just so you know, I turned the grid pattern off my LSV 34 for you.
I can't stand the grids.
I was just going through settings the other day. I turned it off when I was fishing the other day. I've only had it out once, but the picture had it on there. But anyway, we are done for this evening. If you are, by the way, a couple of things. Again, Tackle Box this weekend, Borders this weekend, Friday and Saturday. They're going to have some deals over at Borders. Let them know that you guys heard about it here on Another Line. I appreciate it. JR would as well. I will not be around unless the weather gets crazy. And without that being said, I'm going to go to North Carolina fishing. So you guys will see some videos coming about that. I do want to thank you guys for voting for me for the Yolatech Video of the Year. I did win that. Managed to land $1,250 of hard-earned cash. I even got a free Yolatech Power Stick for JR in his brand new Pahonix 21 PHX.
Somebody at work told me I like your bird.
That was weird.
It was, but I respect that.
It's like, is it hanging out? Oh, wait, no. But anyway, got a lot of stuff coming up. I appreciate you guys' support. I'm looking at that 5,000 subscriber goal still right now. I will say though, I am really, really kind of chugging along, and I'm not mad about my. I'm 3 away from 4,700 subscribers, so
Yeah.
303 away from that 5,000. Yeah, man, Lightning, no problem, buddy. NRX Plus rods are freaking amazing. You're not going to, you can't go wrong doing that stuff. I've never found one that I didn't like. With that being said, guys, we are out of here. JR will be around on both those shops at the Tackle Box and Borders. So I'm going to try to get him some decals, some On Another Line decals tomorrow at some point, so he can have some with him. I know there's a lot of people been wanting some. I have some new freshly printed right off of the printer, so I will give them to him. And if you see him, he'll give you one 100% free on us, because we, if you're promoting our stuff, we can't ask you to pay for that stuff. So with that being said, get out there and spend your money locally. If you're looking for a boat dealership, check out Mullins Marine. If you want to find somebody up around the Wheelersburg area to rig your boat, check out Strix Marine up there. He does a really good job, rigging some stuff. He'll get you set up on whatever you need. He told me the other day he had some Sea Clear harnesses up there if he can put you on your boat if you need to. Obviously, Solarbat, Columbia, Borders, Picasso, these companies help us out to help you out. And that is a big time thing for a couple local yokels like us. That being said, you guys know what to do. If you can, get out there and lean on them. We'll see you next time on Another Line.